Dabanga, Radio Dabanga, Radio Dabanga, Radio Dabanga.
أهلا ومرحبا بكم مستمعي راديو دبنجا الأعزاء في برنامجنا لهذا اليوم الأربعاء.
You're listening to Radio Dabanga, a shortwave radio station making news by Sudanese people, for Sudanese people. Today, our broadcast will give you the latest news updates of Radio Dabanga in English. But first of all, I'm joined by Leon Willems. Leon has been a friend of Dabanga since its foundation, and he will tell you some more about the work that we do.
I used to always say that, you have a newspaper to talk to your brain, you have the television to talk to your stomach, and you have the heart for the radio. Radio is really speaking to people's hearts. That has such a great impact because of its fact-based nature, because of its reliability, because of the trust that it generates within the people in Sudan, who are challenged by their own government, by a lot of false information that's being tossed on them, by a lot of insecurity of the way in which they have to or are forced to live their life, the economic crisis, the constant instability inside the country. I think the uniqueness of Radio Dabanga is that it is based on journalistic principles, yet is forced by the government's inability to allow independent information to exist inside Sudan. It has to broadcast from outside Sudan, but it's really very local in terms of its programming. It has a very unique proximity to the issues that matter most to the people on the ground. So it serves all these different audiences, and that makes it unique, but it does that in a way that is so close to the heart and so close to the reality of people's life that it has a huge impact.
هنا راديو دبنجا.
راديو دبنجا إكج.
على راديو دبنجا سيكل بام.
راديو دبنجا ديك جنيو.
راديو دبنجا مكينانك.
راديو دبنجا رتامبي.
راديو دبنجا، راديو دبنجا.
راديو دبنجا.
Now it's time for the news, translated from Arabic and read today by Nushka. Thanks for being here, Nushka.
Thank you. In the news, President Omar al-Bashir has pledged to release all journalists detained by security forces in a speech which took a more conciliatory stance towards protests on Wednesday. Marches took place in Khartoum yesterday, calling for Bashir to step down as part of the March for the Detainees and Victims of Torture. In light of ongoing protests, the Enough Project has called on the United States and the international community to hold the Sudanese government accountable for the deaths and injuries to protesters. There is still a shortage of fuel and bread in many states across Sudan, according to new reports. And a new government report has shown more than 10,000 cases of chikungunya fever in Sudan's Red Sea state over the past 4 months. First of all, yesterday evening, President Omar al-Bashir pledged to release all journalists detained by security forces and solve all problems of press and media in Sudan. However, agents of the National Intelligence and Security Service, or the NISS, continued to detain and harass journalists as he spoke. At a meeting on Wednesday with leaders of the mass media, editors-in-chief and columnists at the presidential guest house in Khartoum, al-Bashir said that there is an intention to form a committee to be chaired by a national figure, acceptable to all people, to prepare a draft of a new permanent constitution for the country. This was reported by the official Sudan news agency. The president reiterated that the door of dialogue is an open one for all to achieve peace and get the country out of political and economic crisis. However, as al-Bashir spoke on Wednesday, reports reached Radio Dabanga that security agents had stormed the headquarters of Al Jarida newspaper. They arrested journalist Ali Al-Dali and took him to an unknown destination. The NISS has been preventing Al Jarida newspaper from printing for more than 3 weeks because of its coverage of the demonstrations that have been taking place in the country for about 2 months now. Al Jarida also rejected prior security monitoring decisions to make adjustments on its coverage, which are contrary to the rules of the profession.
And that was the news of today. Especially now more than ever, Radio Dabanga is creating a platform for Sudanese people to speak to the world. You can support us doing this in many ways. You can tell us what Radio Dabanga means to you, no matter where you come from. You can also support us by donating on our website. And please try to listen to our broadcast on World Radio Day to find out more about Dabanga and the vital role that we play in keeping Sudanese people informed and promoting dialogue, tolerance and peace.
Radio Dabanga, Radio Dabanga, Radio Dabanga, Radio Dabanga.
أعزائي المستمعين، شكرا لاستماعكم لراديو دبنجا، ونلاقيكم في بثنا في الفترة المسائية. دمتم بألف خير وقيلوا عافية.